Good day, grade sevens. Welcome to this section where we shall be looking at the proposed memorandum for the EMS. Okay, for the November 2025 exam. Okay, so this paper was out of 100 and we had to use 1.5 hours. Okay, so instructions, you need to answer all the questions or read all the instructions, answer all the questions. Okay, and then next, use the special answer book, which we have here. And then you may use a calculator, use only the black or blue ink, write neatly and legibly. All right, so follow with me as we dive into the paper to see how we would have gone about this. So section A, that talks about the economy and entrepreneurship. So we need to see whether the following statements are true or false. Just write this next to the question number. Okay, so they are telling us that production is the process of collecting waste materials and transforming them into new products. That's not production, it's actually recycling. So this is going to be false. And then productivity means producing greater output using fewer resources. I think that is very true. And then next we have coal is an example of a non-renewable resource. This is also true because once coal is used up, it's used up. There's nothing you can do with the end result. And 1.4, GDP or gross domestic product is the total monetary value of all resources needed to produce goods and services in a country during a specific period. This, is it true? No, it's false. This is false. And then 1.5, economic growth happens when a country produces more goods and services over a period of time, which is very true. Okay, so that is how question 1 was supposed to be answered. Then question 2, they're telling us that various options are provided as possible answers to the following questions. Choose the correct answer and write only A, D next to the question. Okay, so this multiple choice, we just need to circle what is correct. So fees that are paid by customers for using the bank services are known as, those are called bank charges, not bank interest. So A is the best option. 2.2, the money that a bank pays to clients for keeping their funds in accounts such as savings or fixed deposit accounts. So this represents the interest, okay, but which type of interest? So it cannot be a commission, cannot be dividends, cannot be charges, has to be the bank interest. Okay, because you get something extra because of trusting the bank with the savings. And then 2.3, one of the documents required when a grade 7 learner opens a savings account is, so which document is that? We need a birth certificate because grade 7s do not have ID cards, okay? So you'll be required to go with your birth certificate or go with a parent. Then 2.4, the Dash collects taxes on behalf of the South African government, so that is SARS, okay, South African Revenue Services. So South African Reserve Bank, nope. Nope. Revenue Service. Option A is the most correct answer there. And then 2.5, one of the roles of banks. Okay, what is the role of banks? Okay, collect tax on behalf, nope. Produce coins and banknotes. This is the central bank. Lend money to individuals and businesses, yes. Increase or decrease, nope. So C becomes the best option there. Okay, so that is question 2 also done. Then we move on to question 3, which is the economy. 3.1, what do we call the act of trading goods or services directly for other goods and services without money? So this is known as barter trade, or some people would prefer to call it bartering. Okay, exchanging goods for goods. Okay, you bring a cow and then I give you shoes. 3.2, then what do we call illegally printed or copied money? So this is normally called fake money, and sometimes we call it counterfeit. Okay, counterfeit. Then 3.3, explain the role of money as a medium of exchange. So we know that money is used to pay for the goods and services, to pay for goods and services. Okay, this is how we would have answered that. And then next, they want us to give two advantages of using electronic banking. Okay, number one, you don't need to worry about carrying cash. Okay, so no worry about carrying cash, because the moment you carry a lot of cash, the thugs or the thieves will be suspicious, and then you become a target. Okay, and the next, you are saying that you do carry your banking safely anytime. So you carry out your banking safely. We know, of course, we also have the online fraud and stuff that happens, but for as long as we're dealing with electronic, we think, or we believe it's more safer. Okay, the next, it saves time. Okay, it saves time because there's no time for queues and waiting to be called on and things like that. And the next, you can do banking at any time. Okay, you can do banking at any time. Okay, even in the night when the bank branches are closed, you can still carry out your transactions without any issues. So any two of these ones will be perfect. And then 3.5, they want us to give two examples of community basic needs. Okay, so remember, basic needs are basically those needs that people cannot do without, okay? It's a must for them to have them, for life to move on. Number one, we need housing, okay? Communities do need housing. Communities also need what we call the health facilities. Communities also need what we call electricity supply. Okay, safe electricity supply, because electricity is now a need as well. Then we also need transport and roads. Okay, transport and roads. So all those are needs. Water, sanitation. We could also talk about safety and policing. All those things are basic needs that a community really needs. Question 4, read the case study below and answer the questions that follow. Eagles Primary School hosted an Entrepreneurs Day on the 19th of September 2025. Groups of grade 7 learners set up stalls to sell their products to fellow learners, teachers, and parents who came to support their businesses. The following products were sold by the various businesses on the day. We had some cupcakes, some movies, soft drinks, sweets, face painting, car wash games, and then the cheeseburgers. The most popular product that was sold out on the day was the delicious cheeseburger made by a group of learners who call themselves the Burger Masters. All right. 4.1. 4.1. Identify three goods that are mentioned within the case study. So we can see that all these, so we have the cupcakes, that's a good. And then number 2, we have what we call the soft drinks. That's also a good. Movies are not goods, it's a service. Then we can also have sweets. And then we can also have what we call the cheeseburgers. Okay, so we have 4 and we only need 3. Okay, we can choose from that. And then 4.2, list 4 services highlighted in the case study. So remember the difference between the goods and the services. Goods are tangible, you can feel them, okay? And then services, you cannot really feel them. Number 1, the movies. You cannot touch movies. You can't. So movies is a service that is rendered. 2, when you look at face painting, it's done and even if you touch your face, you're gonna still feel yourself. You won't feel the paint. And the next, we can have what we call the games, because that is also a service. And then next, from the games, even the car wash, it's a service. So car wash is a service. What else could we have? They said 4, and it's like those are the only 4 that we have. So basically that is it. And then 4.3, name one producer that is mentioned within the case study. So a producer is somebody that comes up with the goods, someone that makes the goods. Okay. So in this case, the goods are these. The people or the person that's making the cheeseburgers, because that's what the case study talked about, is the burger what? The burger masters. Okay, we're gonna say it's the burger masters. And then two consumers mentioned the case study. So with the consumers, we have a lot, né? People that are going to consume the services and the goods. So we have the fellow learners, okay, the fellow learners. We also have the parents, because there are some parents that were invited, and then we also have the teachers at the school. So all these are consumers. All right, then section C are telling us that classify the following items and say if they are assets, liabilities, or expense or income. We just use a tick, but then they put a cross in the correct column. Write your answers. The table provide the answer book. So we're going to use this one, okay? So with what we can see is that if we are having services rendered, okay, and they were 45,000 for October. So you render services, you must get paid. So the money that you're going to get becomes an income. So we mark it off. And then the advertising bill for November is 5,000. So this must be money that is going out, money that you must pay for the advertising to take place. So this is an expense. And then the bank overdraft of 10,000, this is a liability. It's something that you need to clear off. Okay, and then Tabo invested 15,000 in the car wash. So when you invest money, it becomes capital. Okay, and the next ABC Bakery has a stock valued at this much. So this is basically an asset. It's what the company owns. Okay, then question number 6. I read question 6, read the scenario below and answer the questions that follow. Write your answers in the spaces provided. Okay, Mr. Brown owns a poultry farm. Most people think he's very rich. His assets and liabilities are as below, okay? Number 1, there's farming equipment, 400,000, so this is an asset. And then creditors, 100,000, this is a liability. He has chickens worth 100,000, it's an asset. And then land and buildings, this is also an asset. And then a bank loan, this is a liability. All right, and then 6.1. What is the total value of Mr. Brown's assets? You may not show the calculation. So with the assets, that's basically what the business owns, okay? So we have the 2 million, okay? And then we have the 100,000, and then we have the 400,000. Okay, so the total is gonna be 2,500,000 rands. So those are the total assets. And then the value of the liabilities, so we only saw two, the 3 million and then the 100,000. So it's going to be 3,100,000 rands. And then 6.3, what is Mr. Brown's net worth? So net worth is where we look at the assets and then we subtract the liabilities. What is left of that? So if we get our 2,500,000, we subtract the 3 million and then 100,000, we're going to have a minus of 600,000. So this is the net worth. You still have to pay the 600,000 rands. All right, and then 6.4. What will be Mr. Brown's net worth if he pays 2 million on his bank loan? You may not show the calculation. So if you have 600,000 that you need to clear, and then you pay 2 million, meaning that there is going to be an excess of 1,400,000. Okay, so just subtract and tell us that 2 million minus the 600,000. So you get the 1,400,000, which will be positive now. Okay. And then 6.5, is Mr. Brown a rich man after he has paid the 2 million in his bank loan? Yes or no, and then provide the answer. And then our answer is going to be a yes. Why? Because it's left with a positive balance. Or rather, we can say that his net worth is now 1,400,000. So you cannot be rich when you have debts to clear, okay, when you have payments to make. Okay, so that is how you can put it, or you can now put it that his assets will be now greater than the liabilities. That's also one other scenario. All right, question number 7 under entrepreneurship. Study the rainbow faces budget here below and answer the questions that follow. Write your answers in the spaces that have been provided. Okay, so we have the expected income, services rendered 3.5, members contributions 250. Our total income expected is this much. Okay, then we look at the face painting materials are gonna cost 1,000. The rent is 500, the transport is 300, advertising is 100, cleaning materials is 100, and then the expected expenses. Do they get to this? Because this is 8, 9, 10. Okay, that's 2,000. When you minus, you get 1,750. That's the profit. Then 7.1, calculate the total variable costs for the rainbow faces. Now, when you're looking at variable costs, these are basically costs that can change based on the number of clients that you're going to get. Okay, so our focus is going to be somewhere here. So we know that rent is fixed. Okay, face painting materials, is it going to be fixed? No, it's a variable, because if you get more people, then you're going to need more materials. Okay, and then transport, is it fixed? It's also variable. And then advertising, no, that is fixed. And then it's the cleaning materials that will also be variable, because you have more orders, then you're going to need more materials for cleaning. You have less orders, then you have very few materials. So we're going to have our 1,000 rands, plus we have the 100 for the cleaning, and then the 300 for the transport. And this becomes 1,400 rands. Okay. And then 7.4, calculate the total of the fixed cost. So fixed, we said there's just rent and then the advertising, nothing much. Okay, so advertising does not depend on how many clients. I mean, you're advertising so that you get clients. No one will ever tell you that, no, since you got this number of clients, you have to pay extra for advertising. That's madness. So it's going to be a 500 plus 100, which gives us a total of 600. And then 7.3, Rainbow Faces budgeted to do 200. Rainbow Faces budgeted to do 200 face paintings for Entrepreneurs Day. How much did it cost the business to do one face painting? Okay, so now we have serious calculations to do. Okay, now since our cost of production is 2,000, okay, plus how many face paintings are we having? We are having 200 face paintings. You don't have to plus, you just have to divide this. Divide by 200. It simply means that it's going to cost 10 rand for each face. Okay, so every face is just going to cost a 10 rand. So that is how we would have obtained that. So 2,000 divided by 200, you get 10 rand. And then question 8, use the information given below to draw the SWOT analysis for the super entertainers business. Write your answers by completing the table in the answer book. Okay, so what are they saying? They're telling us that the super entertainers is a group of 5 graduate learners preparing to participate in the school's Entrepreneurs Day. Okay, the group has raised enough capital, okay, to start and run jumping castle business. Their market research shows that there will be only jumping castle business operating. So it's just the only business, okay? And then Entrepreneurs Day will be hosted in September, okay, a month when it often rains. And then the jumping castle requires electricity. That's something also to note. And there's always a possibility of load shedding. That's something also to note. One of their members is a bully who often intimidates other members and makes the teamwork very difficult. Okay. And so let's check the answer book and see how the section looks like. So question 8. Okay, so this is how they designed it. We have the strengths, we have the weaknesses, we have opportunities, and then we also have the threats. So when we look at the first part, the group has raised enough capital to start the running or to start and run the jumping. This is a strength. Okay, so let's put it under the strength. Okay, so group has raised enough capital to start and run a jumping castle business. Okay, and then one of the weaknesses that I'm seeing is that one member. Why am I looking at the weaknesses? Let's go to, yeah. One member is a bully who often intimidates and makes work. It's a weakness to the team. Okay, so we can say that one of the members is a bully who often intimidates others and makes teamwork difficult. Okay, so then which opportunities do we see on that day? Okay, so they're telling us that their market research shows that they will be only jumping castle. So this is an opportunity that they are going to be the only jumping castle, okay? So they will be the only jumping castle. So meaning that they're going to exercise what we call monopoly that is operating, okay, on that day. And then we also have to look at the threats. So which threats can we see? We're seeing that Entrepreneurs Day is hosted in September, a month when it often rains. So that is a threat to the business. Okay, that is one. And then two, we also saw that there is load shedding, or there's a possibility of load shedding, which is also a threat. So it's hosted in September, which is a rainy month. And you know, if it's rainy, then it's a bit cold, and then the jumping business should become something else. And then two, we are saying that it requires electricity, but there is a possibility of load shedding. So basically, that is how we would have finalized with a SWOT analysis for that question 8. And then question 9. Question 9, they're telling us that we must study the cartoon below and answer the questions that follow. Okay, so with the cartoon, we must write our answers by completing the table provided in the answer book. So the 21st Century Primary School Entrepreneurs Day Jumping Castle, 10 Rand for only 30 minutes. Okay, 21st Primary School Sports Ground. Okay, come enjoy the magic jumps. Then 9.1, write each letter of the 4 P's of the marketing mix in full and link each of the 4 P's to the advert. Okay, so 9.1, we know that the 4 P's, okay, let me write the 4 P's down here. So number 1 is what we call the product. Okay, so the product is the jumping castle. Why am I saying P, 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 P? Okay, so that is the product, jumping castle. And then next we have the price. And then the price is just 10 rands for how many minutes? We don't need that, okay? We can say for 30 minutes. And then the next P deals with the place. And then we're told that the place is the primary school sports ground. The primary school sports grounds. And then the last P is the promotion. So where's the promotion? at the end, okay, where they're telling us that come enjoy the magic jumps, okay? So jumping is magic. All right, and the 9.2, the Super Entertainers advert was on YouTube. So what type of advertising media did they use? So when something goes online, okay, social media and what, that is known as what we call digital, okay, digital media, or some people prefer to call it electronic media. All right, then question number 10. Read the scenario below and answer the questions that follow. We must write everything in the table in the answer book. Let's see, how does the table of question 10 look like? Okay, the smart goals. Okay, so read the scenario below and answer questions that follow. Okay, Car Magic Wash is a group of student learners who are planning to launch and operate the car washing service business during the School Entrepreneurs Day. And then the day will be on the 19th September. All stores will be open at 9 and then close at 3. Their goal is to wash at least minimum 15 cars on that day. After conducting market research, they found that 20 teachers and parents who own cars are willing to bring their cars for washing. The members of the Magic Car Wash have all the necessary car washing materials and the practical skills in washing the cars. Use the information in the scenario to assist these people in setting the business goals using the SMART goal principles. Okay, so are the goals specific? They're telling us the 18 trader SMART goals, okay? So what we can say under the specific is that it's going to happen during the school's Entrepreneurs Day. Okay, so we are being specific with the date and all of that. Okay, that's one. Number two, they are plan to launch and operate car wash business. The car wash business. And then is it measurable? Whatever they are thinking or planning, is it measurable? The answer is yes, it's measurable because the goal is to target 15 cars. Is to wash at least 15 cars on the day. So it's measurable. And then is it attainable? It's attainable. Why? Because there are parents and teachers that have already confirmed and are willing. So we can say that they found 20 teachers and parents with cars. Parents with cars that are willing to have their cars washed. Okay, and then is it realistic? I believe it is also realistic because the time frame between 9 to 3 is, I think, is also reasonable. Okay, so what we can say under realistic is that they have the experience. They have the experience in washing the cars with the necessary materials. Okay, they have the experience in washing the cars and necessary materials, and then we're saying with the time bound, the 3-part, and saying stores will open at 9 and close at 15 hours. Okay. And the other thing that we can top up on that is that Entrepreneurs Day will be on the 19th of September. So it's like all the details have been included in whatever they are talking about. Then question 11, use the information provided below to draw up a statement. of income and expenditure of the car magic wash service for the Entrepreneurs Day that was conducted. Complete the table provided. Okay, so when we look at what we have here with the table, we have the income and then we have the expenses. Okay, let's see. So let's classify them into income and all of that. So service rendered, this is going to be an income because that's what they got. Washing materials, this is an expense. Members' contribution is an income. Advertising is an expense. Rent is an expense. Water usage is also an expense. So under the income, we have the services rendered. Okay, so you're gonna say services rendered. How much was it? It was 10.50. And then we also have what we call the members' contribution. And how many were they? Do we need to see that? No, the total was 600 for all of them. It's not per person. Okay, so am I putting it which side and which side? I need to know. The income and expenditure, income and expenditure. I think let me put this on the far right so that the expenses can be on the left. Okay, so this is a 1050, this is a 600, and then the total income becomes 1650. And then let's go to the expenses. With the first expense that we see is the washing materials. Okay, washing materials. And how much is it? It's a 200. So let's put it there. And then next we have the advertising. So advertising is a 50 rand. Okay, and then from advertising we have the rent, which is 20. Rent is a 20 rand. And then we also have what we call the water usage, which is 200. So this is gonna be 200, 400, and then 470. Okay, less expenses, which is 470. And then I'll put it here. Okay, and then what is left? We're gonna have 180 when I subtract that. So basically that is how this question would have been answered as well. All right, and that brings us to the end of this paper. Thank you very much for following, and I wish you all the best. And if you found this video useful, please subscribe, like, and share. Okay, let's meet again when we meet again. Bye-bye.